Hello and welcome to Modelling Misadventures. And today we're back on with the Agora Models Routemaster bus. Now it's been a while since I've done this because I've been away for a bit, but this is actually pack 7. And we'll see what we've got. That looks to be part of the chassis. These are floor or roof sections, I can't remember which. Roof sections, I think. Possibly for the top deck. We've got some little metal connecting parts here. Not sure what they are, we'll soon find out. A packet of seats. More seats. More seats. More seats and more seats. Now I knew the time would come on this build when there was going to be a phase of constantly building seats, and it looks like pack 7 is it. This looks like it's going to be the entire top deck, but if we can get that all together it should look quite spectacular. I don't know whether we'll get all the deck put on in this stage, but there's a lot of seat building to come. So we got the instructions for pack 7, and actually the first few stages of this are actually fitting parts of the previous constructions together. So we're going to fit the bonnet on and the lower deck to the chassis and the platform onto the back, and it's not until a little bit later that we start doing the upper seating. But to start with, the very first stage is to fit the bonnet. Now that would be fantastic because the bonnet was the first thing that we got in the kit, and it hasn't been fitted on at this stage, but it's going to be fitted on with those hinges. Well, this is the beautiful bonnet that we made in one of the early stages of this model, and this is going to be fitted onto the front of the lower deck, just there. There are the parts for stage 61. There's lots of lovely red metal hinge work. Well, that's the hinge mechanism in place, and look at that. It's great, isn't it? These are called friction hinges. Help hold the bonnet up. And we've got a little bonnet catch here and a latch at the front. I'm loving that. And that's what it looks like from the top. Looks a bit odd at the moment, but we're going to fasten this on now to the chassis. Now in the next stage, I'm going to get all of this onto here. And these are always really fiddly because you've got loads of alignment to do and then fasten lots of screws, getting wires out of the way. I think this is going to be fiddly. Here we go. It's got to go on here. Well, crashed on. Let's see if we can get it aligned. There's some tabs at the back here that I've got to get aligned and fastened. Doesn't want to go on at the moment. Now I've managed to get this thing on, but I'm not going to say it was easy. And the biggest problem I had was there's a little plastic tab on here that has to go into this wheel arch, and it wouldn't fit. I had to really force it quite hard to get that in. Once that went in, the rest of it aligned up quite nicely, but I had to fiddle with that for quite some time to get that on. Now it's just a question of screwing the floor down with plenty of screws. Well, there it is with the lower deck and the bonnet fastened on. That was a bit of an ordeal to get all that lined up and fastened on, but it's done. And this is very nice. Not a lot of room to work on the engine, but it's looking great, isn't it? Look at that. Right, in the next stage, we're going to fit this rear staircase onto the back of the bus. Now this is going to go on a lot easier than the lower deck, because you just line it up and put the screws straight in. And then we just fasten the staircase to the side wall with 4 screws, nice and easy. And now we just got to connect all of these wires into the circuit board. Well, that's those connected up. Now this one here isn't long enough to reach the socket, and they acknowledge that, and they're going to send an extension in the next pack. Now they don't tell you to do this, but I'm going to temporarily screw the battery pack in there just to keep it out of the way. Now the next few stages are all about making seats for the upper deck. I don't know how many there are, but I'm just going to get cracking and put them all together. Well, there they are. There's 18 seats on the top deck, and most of them are the same, just right and left-handed versions. So they take a little bit of time to put them all together, but really easy. So now onto the floor. So here are the 3 upper deck floor parts. Now I'm going to deviate from the instructions here. They recommend screwing the seats to these one at a time, but I'm actually going to fasten the 3 floor pieces together, and then I'm going to weather them before I put any of the seats on. So I've joined these top floor panels together. It's quite big. You can see the holes where all the seats are going to be screwed in. So I'm going to do a bit of weathering on this using the oil paints, as I did on the lower deck and the rear platform. So the technique that I've been using is to use these oil paints dissolved in Zippo lighter fluid to make a fairly thin wash, do a base colour, and then do a bit of roughening up. So I normally just squirt some paint out onto this kitchen towel to start with. It helps to soak up some of the oils and makes it a bit quicker to dry. Now if you just do some long brush strokes like this, you can actually get a little bit of a wood grain effect, which looks quite nice. So that's just the first coat of the wash gone on, and you can get those little wood effects on it, which I think looks quite nice. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll do a little bit more weathering. And now I'm just going to try and highlight these cracks in the floor with a very pale wash to make it look as though there's some dirt accumulated in it. I'm just going to put a little bit of paler speckling in front of these seats, just to simulate a little bit of foot dirt. Now I might be overdoing this slightly, but it's going to be hard to see it through the windows, so I think when it's dried and you're looking through the window and the seats are obscuring it, you'll hardly be able to see it. I'm just going to add some streaks of darker wash just to provide a bit of contrast and shade in the dirt and the mud. Well, that's what I've ended up with. That is not the best weathering that you're going to see on YouTube, but I think it's good enough for this, because it's going to be inside the bus, hidden by all the seats. You're probably not going to see much of it. Now to finish this stage off, you've just got to put 18 seats onto this top deck and fasten this metal frame underneath it. This is quite heavy, and this is going to support the top deck on the lower deck. Well, that's the end of pack 7 of the Routemaster bus. That stage is 61 to 70, and that looks brilliant, doesn't it? Look at that. It was a bit repetitive, but You've got to give it to him. It does look absolutely fantastic. And then that's going to fasten onto the roof of the lower deck. So that's it for this stage. Shouldn't be too long before the next one comes, but for now, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Modelling Misadventures.